Okay, so the plan is to sew McCall's 3683. I've actually already made this dress twice. I made view A as is. I made another one, same dress, the short sleeve. So this time we're gonna make a top. We're gonna crop it a little bit and we're gonna change the long sleeve ever so slightly.
My inspiration for this top was the 1960s dandy movement in fashion when the fop style kind of came back in. I really like that big balloon sleeve with the flounce at the cuff, and I want to mimic it with this top. I believe I found this fabric when my sister and I did Junk Jaunt in, I think it was 2021. And even though it was a bust for clothing, we did find a lot of vintage fabric. This is my process for sewing a dart. So I like to incrementally change my stitch length from 3 to 2 to 1 to just the finest stitch I can when I get close to the point. I don't back stitch it, I just run the needle off, and then I will tie a knot twice. This, I believe, helps prevent the dreaded nipple dart effect. I actually went back and recut these white pieces with a different fabric because I just hated how sheer this one was, but I still wanted you all to see the process.
Okay, so I actually ended up doing this one differently than I did the other two dresses I already made. So because the white cotton was so thin and see-through, I wanted it to be like not double lined, but lined essentially. So the original yoke piece, when I folded it over as directed, you can see that line all the way through. So essentially, disregarding this half, I made 2 of these. And that was what I used to fold over. So now you can't see any harsh line. And on the inside, looks fairly normal. I had to fudge it a little, but put that aside for now. If we look at, for example, the dress, this is what the inside should look like. So you've got that piece folded over, the edges turned under, the yoke and the dress mane, the raw edges are even. You've pulled the gathers to make it fit to the yoke. And on the outside, you have that clean, pretty finish. I didn't do exactly what the instructions said. I did not top stitch along the neckline of the yoke. Instead, I just sewed these together on the machine just because I wasn't sure if I was gonna like the top stitch look. I could go back and add that if I wanted to, now that I have it secured down, but I don't think I will. And then of course on this one, I added the fun trim just because I'm so afraid this style will look like a muumuu if I'm not careful. So I pieced together 3 different pieces of trim to create this like ombre gradient effect. But back to the one that we're currently working on. This is where we're at so far. So I need to attach the sleeves. I have to fix a little boo-boo there. And then we're pretty close to being done.
This is how it looks now, and I promise I have a good reason for cutting these sleeves extra long.
I was really particular on the way that I created the, it's not a cuff, I guess flounce, you could say. But I didn't want it to look like, I don't want to say cheap, but if my arm was hanging like this and this flopped over, I didn't want you to have to see the hemline going around. Since I made this so, the fold over so large, you're not going to see any of that. You're just going to see the pretty little flounce. I don't know, something small like that would have irked me, and it would have, I think, distracted from the whole look. Someone else may never even notice or care, but I do think that's part of like the fun small details you can put into your projects that, you know, maybe ready-to-wear garments wouldn't always have. So the blouse is almost done. I'm just going through and tacking down this back facing just so it doesn't flip-flop everywhere. But this is just so me. Once I make a pattern, it's like I can't make the same one again. I have to change it up somehow to make it different, keep it interesting. And when I was making one this time, I realized I don't even know for certain if I actually followed the instructions correctly the first time or two that I made this pattern. But I'm happy with the outcome on all three. I think the important thing to remember is that there are multiple ways with sewing to get to the same destination. I didn't realize when I bought this fabric that it was a circus print. I saw the white doves, I saw the white bunnies, so I just thought it was like a fun animal print. Didn't realize it had clowns all over it. And this is also nowhere near my usual color palette. So will I have something to go with it already in my closet? Let's hope so.